Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. In today's video, we're going to talk about paying off judgments to allow you to be able to move forward. We're going to also talk about collections. If you get a collection off of your credit report, can they come back and sue you later? There was a credit repair company. I could also do consulting for other credit repair companies, and came to me and asked me to get help with their client with this. So just so you know, with the credit repair shop, we take you from A to Z. So if you end up getting sued, we have a department for that. If you need to do settlements, we have a department for that. We don't leave you just out there hanging. There are situations where you will end up having to either pay a settlement on a collection, and that could potentially even be with the debt collector if it's 100% validated and verified, or with the original creditor. So that is an option that is part of your credit repair process that you need to keep in mind. Okay, so let's get started. And I'll also look at some of the YouTube questions here. So let me start it off this way, just to kind of get your mind flowing in the right direction. Because some of the times when we're excuse me, when we're talking about credit and debt, some of the times it can kind of get people to have a feeling where they're just like, hey, I'm struggling. I want solutions, but then you kind of draw back. Depending on your personality, you might go and do things to take your mind off of what you're experiencing with your credit and debt. Or you could be like your personality is more inner, where you will think about your problems with your credit and debt. I'm an inner person where I would think about it constantly. I did not do things to escape reality. I was always probably too much into the reality. And I think that's also why I feel so committed to making the videos and being upfront and honest with you about stuff. And I'm not one of these YouTube content providers that's gonna just be like telling you like the world is this. Well, let me rephrase it. I'm not one of these that's gonna be getting you not on a reality plane. I'm not gonna be telling you stuff that I haven't either done or I haven't done for my clients, or that I've verified will work from other people. I'm just not going to be one of those types of content providers, because I think that's what keeps, in a way, other than like where people will do, take drugs or drinking or do other things to escape reality. A lot of people will watch these types of videos from other channels that will get them to escape reality from them actually taking action on what needs to be done to change their credit and debt situation, to get their credit repaired, to get out of debt, to allow them to be able to move forward. Because if you can think about it this way, I was I'm making a video for my consulting with my Making Money channel, Making Money with Stephen A. Williams on YouTube, where I consult with business owners, and this is stuff that I do for myself. I'm not like one of these that'll tell people to do things, and I don't do these things for myself. I had said, like, you put a piece of paper together and you put the bad things that happened to you on this, write it right here, and then you put today's date right here. And to show you how time works, and also how we hang on to things, on that bad thing that could have happened, you put that date on there for that bad thing that had happened to you. It could be where you had a bad experience with a girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse, got divorced, you went into debt, things started changing and going downhill, your credit got tore up, all of that, and you fold that up to now. And the crazy thing about that is that the feelings are right now It could be years later from when all of that stuff happened, and you fold that up, and you still have those feelings right now. But what I want you to kind of pay attention to, if you can follow me, on this, is that this is where the problem lies, is that between that was a number of years or months or whatever that is in between. Everybody's going to be different. What did you do in between that? That's what all of us have to fix. If it's about increasing your income, if it's about repairing your credit, if it's about getting out of debt, where you started and today's date right now, what are you doing in the middle? What are you doing today? What are you planning to do tomorrow? What are you planning to do the next day? See, what you need to do is you need to have this where it folds up, and you open it up and you see what you've done. The other people, what they do and what we've all done in the past, so we're not any different than anybody else. It's just where we're at in our awareness, is what people most likely are doing is that they have the problem here, and then here is today's date, and all of these years or all of these months or years, weeks, whatever, passed, and they did nothing. Absolutely nothing to change what's going on with their credit, what's going on with their debt, and really what's going on in their personal life. Because really all of that stuff is just an extension of what people are going through on a personal level. Because if you don't like your job, subconsciously you will do things to sabotage yourself. And let me tell you a way that can happen. You don't like your job. You go out there and you just get into debt, buy things, get credit cards, do all of this stuff to kind of cover up. When the real problem is that if you would have just left that job and went and did something that you wanted to do, even if you had to go down in income and then come back up, that you would not have reached out to that outside to escape reality. See, buying stuff is escaping from reality. Why do we buy things? We buy things to look a certain way. We buy things to make ourselves feel good. We buy things because other people are buying stuff, and we want to buy stuff to make ourselves feel good, feel important, all of that stuff. What you have to do is you have to release all of that, and you have to start targeting on what you are doing, because everything, see, you stop reacting on the outside to what you see, to what people tell you how to feel and all of that stuff. You need to know for yourself, what do you want for yourself? What do you want for your family? What do you control? And when it comes to credit repair and when it comes to debt, these are like one and one, like number one and number 1A of the problems that people are facing in today's world, that is like the root cause of all type of destruction. It's like the root cause. Like you can almost see, if a person is not happy, you can almost trace it back to, well, they're not making enough money, and why they're not making enough money, or even if they're making a lot of money, why? And it's because of what they're doing with the, how they're getting their income, where they're working, or maybe they're not making enough money. And that's the root cause. They're not satisfied with what they're doing. But what are they doing in between? If you're not satisfied with how much money you're making, what are you doing in between to change that? How much time is passing? Stop living in the past and start living today. So now let's talk about our topics today. Paying off judgments. I had a client come into my office, older gentleman. I kind of spoke briefly about this on a video last week, where he has money, but he has all of these judgments. And I'm like, you cannot move forward with those judgments the way that you are. And because certain things will start to come up to where these companies, what they do and he was shocked when I told him about this, is that they have an auction service. Because he was like, Steve, those judgments have been sitting there for a while. Why are they now coming after me hard? And I said, let me take a look at them. And when I took a look at them, it's because what they've done is they've sold on the market. So if you can just envision this, debt collectors can go on a computer to a website and look at the judgments that are listed for sale. So say that there's a judgment from a company that they won a judgment from an individual and it was like $10,000. A debt collection company and say, hey, for that $10,000 judgment that you got, we'll pay you $1,000 for it, or we'll pay you $2,000 for it. And you might be saying, well, why would they pay so much for that type of debt? This is because what they'll do is they're doing their research. And they're like, okay, this debt here from this individual, we can research it real quick by looking at their credit and looking at their assets, looking at if they own a home or rent or whatever. This is a good one. We can buy it and we can go after this person hard. And that's what happened with him, is that he was like, this stuff has just been sitting there and now they're coming after me hard. And I was like, well, do you own a home? He was like, yeah, I own a home, but it's not in my name. And I said, okay, let me ask you a couple of questions, because a lot of people, they'll watch stuff on YouTube and they'll think like, oh, I don't have nothing in my name, I'm okay. Or I have it in a trust and I'm okay. Look at the laws on trust. If you do anything that is considered illegal to evade paying something that is court ordered, they will be able to go into your trust and get the money. If you transfer property with 6 months, in my state of Wisconsin, 6 months, with 6 months prior to the lawsuit. So if they file a lawsuit today, you could not have transferred any property 6 months going back. 6 months going back, you could not have transferred, or they could go and claw that property back from that individual, and they don't care if that individual paid you money for it. They will be able to legally claw that property back. And a lot of people will say, okay, well, I didn't know, or, you know, I wasn't aware of this. Well, of course you wasn't aware of it, but this is like something that was put into the law that'll allow companies to be able to go and take assets. And most people are going to do the transfer when they know that things are about to go to court, or that they're being, the debt collector is calling, or the plaintiff attorney is calling saying, hey, we have an intention to sue you in court over this debt. Do you want to resolve it now, or are we going to have to go to court to get this resolved? That from that date when they filed that court case, it's going to go 6 months back. And there are companies, there are debt collection lawyers who specialize in finding assets. These companies are very, very aggressive on finding bank accounts, finding business accounts, finding businesses, finding stocks, finding real estate, all type of stuff. They send investigators out. They take pictures. It's Perry Mason. If you're too young for Perry Mason, who is, pick one of the CSI. They're like that, where they're gonna go and they're gonna look up a person, like literally, like what all does this person have, because we are coming to get it. And now, so you have to protect yourself. So what I would advise anyone to do, and this is not legal advice, I'm just telling you what I had to do for myself in the past, and what I'm telling this client to do, is that we got to start approaching these companies one by one and making settlements, because they're always willing to do settlements. They're always willing to do settlements. And this type of situation usually happens because an individual is a business owner. They can't be garnished. So this is the option that they'll take. And also another thing that you got to be very careful about, because you got to have a bank account now. I don't care what people say that you can't. You can live without a bank account. You got to have a bank account. And what these companies will do is that they will garnish the bank account. Wake up one day in the morning and your money is gone. And then they'll have a writ to actually do that again. Every time you put money into your account, that money will be taken out, and the bank will stand by that document and process that garnishment and ship that money right over to the debt collector's bank account. So you have to take this stuff serious. So what you should do, if you have judgments out there, if you are of the mindset of contacting the companies and working out deals, you should do it. But you got to be careful. The reason this is probably one of the most important reasons why people come to us when they find themselves in this type of situation is because you don't want to end up answering questions with those debt collectors or the plaintiff attorneys for original creditors. There's certain questions that you just don't want to answer, because it's like you're gonna be tilting the scale their way with all that information. Listen to that recording. When they say on that recording, anything that you say, this is attempt to collect the debt, and anything that you say will go towards information on that they're attaining to collect on that debt. So you want to have a buffer in between, and the way that we do it is that we're the buffer, and we get with the plaintiff attorney. And the plaintiff attorney is actually the buffer for the original creditor or even a debt collector. They're like the buffer, because there's certain things that they don't want to have to answer to, certain things that you don't want to answer to. And the way that those are resolved is you have two people in the middle speaking for you on your side, and you have one person speaking for your side, one company speaking for your side, and they have a company speaking on their side, and there's no emotion, and there's trying to come to a resolution so both parties can be able to move forward. And I can tell you that mountains can be moved when this is done. Take a quick drink here. The recent mountain that we just moved was for a young lady who had to get an account settled, and they wanted all types of documents to be able to justify the discount that they were going to give on this settlement that was negotiated. That at the beginning there was no window open on negotiation. Like, it was $59,000, and they said, okay, well, we'll take $55,000. And then they said, well, okay, we'll take $50,000. And then whenever we approached about going lower, expressing the hardship, expressing what happened with the account, the plaintiff attorney, which was this was an individual where he was going into court. He was a step above what you'll normally see with most of these debt collection lawsuits. A lot of these debt collection lawsuits, they'll send an attorney in that is not, one of the upper echelon attorneys. This was an attorney that was handling major cases, big dollar cases. They call them big money judgment cases. And he was like, we got cozy with him, and not anything that was unprofessional, but we was like, this is what we need you to take back to your client. And they have to take that back to their client. They have to get a denial letter every time. And so the first one was they only took away $5,000, so $55,000, and then it was $55,000. So that was $4,000 they took off. Then they went to $50,000. Then after that, everything after that, they wanted documentation, and they sent a stack. They wanted to know everything about this individual, education, which they already really knew, but they just wanted to have it documented. Retirement accounts, bank accounts, business accounts, IRAs, everything. They wanted to know, it was a stack. And I remember when she got it, she was like, I don't want to fill this out. And I was like, I don't want you to have to fill that out either. I don't want you to have to fill it out, but this is what they're requiring to be able to justify to get that. And so she had said, well, what do I need to do? And I said, well, what we need to do is we need to keep going back and forth. But what we need you to do is we need you to understand that this is going to take back and forth. And she was like, well, the court date is coming up. And I was like, well, what we'll do is we'll say, we'll try to get an extension. They don't always do this, but we were like, we're in negotiation. We're in good faith negotiations with you. Can we get that extended out? They did 2 extensions. I believe that this settlement took 2 months to finalize. So they did a second extension because it really started getting serious, and they had started going down like the back and forth. And whatever the plaintiff attorney was saying when he took it back, he was probably saying, hey, this is where they're at, and I think this is a serious offer, you need to consider it. We had went at $10,000. They said no, and then they said fill out the documents and we'll consider the amount of the 10,000. But I'm not going to speak about it here, but the plaintiff, our client, did not want to fill it out. And looking at their situation, there was very good reason why they shouldn't fill it out. And then we got back on the phone again. We said, hey, let's just resolve this. How about, and we consulted with our client. We said, give us another offer that we can present to them that's going to kind of wake them up. And we went to $20,000. We after consulting, so $20,000, and they said yes for $20,000 with no doc. So we said we want to do $20,000 with no doc. They took it to their client, came back. The attorney said, I've been with this working back and forth with this company. This is a major bank, working with them, and they have never accepted anything like that. And they said, accept it. And you need to have the money here in 10 days. And so we got with our client. We said, hey, it's accepted. We got the agreement. Everything, is going to go through. Not to say too much about this client situation, but if this didn't come through, they could have lost their job. I'll put it that way. They would have lost their job. So when that was talking about avoiding a judgment, but if you have judgments, you would still approach them the same way, but it's going to have a little bit of a variation because they have that leverage of already having a judgment. So if they already had a judgment, then you got to, get with them. There is no debt validation that's going to be able to be done because the court is it's over, and with this individual, it was over for years. And so they started, doing some things that kind of woke him up to where he was like, they're looking for assets. They're like, really putting a lot of pressure on me to that. It's making him think in his own mind. I'm like, I'm glad you came to me because he was thinking in his own mind, like, these people are serious. They're not just a regular debt collection company, that these are really serious. And then I talked about, what are you trying to do moving forward in your life? Like, you can't really move forward having this stuff over your head. You really can't. And I know that it's tough. It sounds easy for me to say it, because of the position I'm in now, but I've been in that position, and you just can't move forward. You're going to have to go one by one and resolve this. And I said, well, do you have the money to do this? Because I'm not going to take you on as a client to do something about this with the solution that I have if you don't have the funds to be able to do it. And he said, I have the funds. And I'm like, okay. And I said, how many is it? And he said that there were 6 accounts. So he's got six judgments that we're gonna have to deal with. The next one here, and this goes into getting sued also. There was a credit repair company that I consult with, and they came to me and they said that they had gotten the collection off of their clients' credit reports, and then now it's 3 years later, 3 years later, and they said that they're now got a notice that they are going to get sued. And he said, are they allowed to do that? And I was like, yes, they can do that. See, one of the biggest misconceptions with taking a collection off of a credit report, that's going to mainly be because of a technicality. You know, straight up dealing with the bureaus, it's about correct data. Is this information correct? But that could have nothing to do with if you actually owe that debt. See, all of the lines on your credit report has to be correct. Everything about that debt has to be correct. But the debt could be valid that you owe it, but the way that the information is placed on your credit report makes it that it's not valid to keep on your credit reports. That's why we've always done it two ways with the credit repair shop, because we want to get it off your credit report, but we want to do away with that debt. And if you send that information, validation, and have the back and forth with the debt collection company, then you're going to start to see what exactly is going to happen on that side dealing with the debt collector. And then you'll also have your results that you want to get dealing with the bureaus. It's really two different things. It's really two different services. We've always bundled them up as one, but it's really two different services, because when you're dealing with the bureaus, that's dealing with the bureaus. And there is where the bureaus are supposed to send that information over to the furnisher, which could be a debt collector or a creditor. But really, if they feel, and I'm talking about the bureaus, TransUnion Credit, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, credit bureaus, if they feel by the data that they have, because they're going to do they're going to do one test of data that they have internally. And if they feel that that passes the test, it's just going to come back verified. That's why you could have something that you know is 100%. It could have been ID theft or something like that, and you did a dispute to it and it came back verified. It's because the data points, when they did their internal data point check, which could be three things. It could be your name, it could be your date of birth, it could be your social security number, it could be your address, it could be that you lived in that area, your job, any data point from the information that furnisher put in there. They only had to have 3 matches. And if they have 3 of the matches, it's going to say that it's verified. And they're going to just send you a letter back saying that it was verified. It doesn't even go to the furnisher. That is something that a lot of people don't even know, or maybe you do know about it. So we've always done with our bundled service is we sent it to the furnisher and then we would get that information back from the furnisher. Now, something that you need to be aware of is that if you send a debt validation the wrong way to a furnisher, they could just disregard the whole debt validation. And with the recent, not the recent, but the 2017 Supreme Court ruling about how if a debt collector buys a debt, they become in essence the position of in a way like the original creditor, and they don't have to follow the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So what you have to do is you're doing a debt validation, but you're kind of crafting it to go after the information with the debt that they have. Like with a debt validation, you're always trying to get proof of contract. You know, how am I dealing with you? This and all of that stuff. But there's a little tweak that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with debt collectors now who buy debt, or portfolio companies who buy debt. Because of that Supreme Court ruling, they don't have to, until the only way that they have to go by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is if they're buying debt, or if they're collecting debt for others. That's how it's stated. If they're collecting debt, for others, like if they're collecting it for another company, which is crazy because they do that and they buy debt. They do both. But if they buy debt, and that's why they'll have the portfolio companies, and then they'll sell it off to another debt collector, is because they don't want to have to go through that process. But you can make them go through the process of verifying all of the information that they have about that debt. And they can actually put you in a great position if they try to come after you or try to sue you for that debt. Because you're not saying, I have no reason to pay you, even though you are saying that. You're just telling them, hey, you need to give me all of the documentation about this claimed amount that you're saying that I owe. Yeah, you might have bought it. Yeah, whatever, all of this stuff. But I want all of the documentation. And that's what they truly never want to give you. When you do here, this is how I can clear it up. Sorry to kind of get you a little, if I'm not clear, because I got this up here and we just do this. Here, this will clarify it. A debt validation is mainly just showing how they got the debt, in that it's your name and the amount that they're saying that you owe. It is not going into the details about all of that. And what you want to do is you want to get them to go into the details about the debt that they purchased, the chain of custody, original contract, all of the charges, everything to prove the claim. Like if you want to like have it come, like how can I make it just roll off all of the things that I should ask them for? Just pretend like they're the company that you were originally doing business with. All of the things that you would ask them for, that's what you're allowed to now ask them for, and they can't disregard that. That's what you would need to do. So yes, a debt collection can come off your credit reports, and then they can later come after you to sue you. And what I see, this is when I see this happen, it's because the statute of limitations is about to run out. The legal statute of limitations for a state. So if you live in a state where the statute of limitations is 4 years, you better bet if you have a collection that's about to approach the 4-year statute of limitations where they can't legally sue you for the debt, is that you will probably have a lot of debt collectors either threaten to sue or go ahead and sue. And here's the crazy thing: if they threaten to sue and they never sue, that is a violation of the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. If they threaten to sue you and they don't sue you. Now, let me take a quick drink here. I don't know how that would work right now if a debt collector who purchases a debt for themselves to collect, and they don't have to go by the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act because they're not collecting the debt for another or other, which is what they say in that Supreme Court ruling. What happens to them if they don't sue you, but they threaten to sue you? Because in the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, they cannot make threats and not follow through on suing you in court. All right, let's get to some questions and answers. Let's get to some questions and answers. Someone has stated that they had received a debt from Portfolio Recovery. They had submitted the information to a dispute to the credit reporting agencies, and it came back verified, and they know that this medical debt is not theirs, and they even called the medical provider, and the medical provider said that the debt is not theirs. So this is one of those situations where you gotta play in the ball field of where you're at. So this is where you would go directly to Portfolio Recovery, and you need to challenge them on that. You can even put in your letter, hey, I contacted the medical provider that you're stating on your debt collection letter to me, and they said that my name is not attached to this debt. and see what they come back with. What are they going to have as an answer to that? Once you get that answer, a lot of the questions will be answered, and you'll be able to move forward. They will probably do their research. Hopefully, they should, to see that, hey, this is either the wrong name, similar name. I've had this happen a lot where you got that junior, senior, where their name is similar, address was similar. Remember I said those data points. If those data points match, so even though may not be Social Security, but you got the addresses match, you got a similar name, you got it could be, I don't know, a job, maybe you worked for your grandfather. That one case that comes to mind, where the grandson and the had the same name as his grandfather. Grandfather was living with them at the address. He was accumulating medical bills, and it was mapping over to his grandson's credit. And so we had to deal with that. That also that happened with a father and son also. So what you got to do is you got to go back and you got to deal with the debt collection company, and you got to notify them about the issue, and also add to that you've contacted the medical provider on that documentation that they have, and they said that your name is not attached to it at all. Someone here said with Blit and Gaines, they had something with portfolio recovery. Portfolio recovery. And I had a text coming here. That okay, so in the video I had stated that they can't use third-party mail-in services to send debt collection letters out. That it has to come from them. And they said, well, it has Pitney Bowes through United States Postal Service. Is this an example of a third-party mail-in service? No. What they're using a machine that has a meter, so they can put their envelopes together and then just punch, and then send everything out. This is where they just have an account with the Postal Service, so they don't have to go there and do stamps. Like think of it like this: Stamps.com gave that to individuals on an individual level, what Pitney Bowes, and I think that there was another one out there, gave to businesses where they didn't have to go to the Postal Service. Says here, what if your account is levied and it's in a negative? Should you stop? Yeah. Like I spoke about earlier, these collection companies can go into your bank account, and this individual is saying, well, what if your account is negative? Well, you got to deal with that, or you're going to have the bank coming after you. This is crazy. Like, if you put any money in there, all of the money is going to come out. But yes, if your account is negative, you need to just bring it to zero. Just bring the account to zero so you don't have fees incurred from the account. And it said, should you stop your direct deposit? Well, that's a decision that you got to make. That's a decision that you got to make. And I think that another decision you got to make is what can you do to contact this creditor or debt collector about dealing with this debt, so you don't continue going through this. Because they're going to be able to continue doing this over and over until that debt is paid. So you're going to have to do something about that. Someone said that they're moving to Texas. They said garnishments, how to stop garnishments. And the video that I made was from years ago, where if you lived in the state of Texas, that they don't allow garnishments in the state of Texas. And this person said, I'm moving to Texas. Well, here's the thing that has been happening since I made that video, is that now Texas is like being known for where they're dipping in the bank accounts. Like, I have people contacting me all the time from Texas now, where everybody was saying, I live in Texas, and I used to say, hey, you protected because they're not really going to do anything. Now what the debt collection companies are doing is they're going into bank accounts in Texas. And Texas has made it easier for them to go into bank accounts. So moving to Texas is not going to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with that judgment. You got to deal with that debt. Let's see here. We got another one here. Someone here said that I'm new, need to do a 1099-C. You don't do a 1099-C. The company files a 1099-C. I know there's misconceptions. Even some people has a misconception even from my video. So let me clarify. The 1099-C, we've been able to get clients 1099-Cs, not where we made the company do it. We gave them the hardship about the client, and the company, the original creditor, decided to file a 1099-C cancellation of debt because they're like, there's just no way that they're going to get the money. Some original creditors will say, hey, we're going to just sell it on the open market in a portfolio to debt collectors and let them deal with it. We'll get whatever we're going to get. But you don't force them. You don't file a document for a creditor to get a 1099-C. Like, you don't file a 1099-C to make them discharge the debt. That is something that is not available. That is not something that is reality. That is stuff that people have put out there. And I'm starting to see the people who had put those videos out, they're starting to disappear. If you look at their channels, they haven't posted videos for a long time because they made promises to people, and now people are like coming at them hard. So let me clarify. To be able to get a 1099-C, what you have to do, if it's with the original creditor, you have to send them your hardship. Tell them what you're going through. From what I've seen, if it's medical, something extreme with family, it is something that could potentially happen. The account must be charged off. You're not going to get this if you're paying on your stuff, minimum payments. They're going to still keep coming after you for the money. If you stop paying your payments, they're going to come after you for the money until it charges off. Once it charges off, then you can, potentially get a 1099-C from them if they, along the way you've expressed the hardship that you're going through and they decide to go that direction. But they may not go that direction. They could either keep it and sue, and there's some certain companies that will do that, or they could sell it off, and then that company is going to sue you. The debt collection company is going to sue you. But that is how it's done, and it's not something that you force a company to do. All right, let's see here. What if you're, yeah. Okay, well, let's end the video here. This has been a long one right here. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit portion scores, go to the website your3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports in all 3 scores. You need to have that data so you can know how you can move forward. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations letter, cease and desist collection activities letter, and debt validation letter. Those can stop debt collectors early if they're coming after you. Thank you for your time. Please like this video.